The following podcast contains spoilers and pretty naughty language. We watch a thing. We watch a thing. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Oscar Prediction Spectacular here at We Watched a Thing. This week, I'm lucky enough to have a very special guest. It's Amy Smith, mainly at the moment from InSession Film and Next Best Picture, but honestly does so many different film things. Is even Rotten Tomatoes approved now, is that right?
Yeah, it is.
Nice. I applied and got knocked back. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Not too bad, thanks. Thank you so much for joining me. So, as always on the show, we're not going to go over all of the categories, just kind of the big ones. But before we get started, I know that you've seen all of them this year, and
Yes.
you watch a lot of movies. What was your very favourite movie this year?
It was Dune.
Dune, yeah, right.
I'm not typically a sci-fi person, but maybe it was because the cinema experience we hadn't really had a chance to embrace for like well over a year at that point.
Yeah.
It just blew me away. The whole world building, the technical achievement, even the story. Like I have no familiarity with like the source material. I understood the entire movie, no problem whatsoever.
Yeah.
Which I think is amazing for a text like Dune. So
Yeah.
yeah, I still marvel every time I watch it.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. And Villeneuve, like, he's incredible. All right, were there any films this year that you felt like were snubs? Were there anything you saw that you were really expecting to get nominated that didn't for any categories?
Not sure of expecting to get I wish Spencer got more love than just actress. I think that is also an incredible piece of filmmaking, personally. I know it's Amar might love it or hate it sort of situation, but I was very much in love at camp. One of my favourite films from the past year was Mass, which I got to see at Sundance 2021, and if there was a film that deserved sort of screenplay, acting, ensemble awards, it was Mass, and it just did not have enough momentum. It did not make it into the fall film festivals, and it just couldn't really get onto viewers' sort of attentions. But that was, if you watched it, you know how hard that film is to get through.
I haven't watched it, but I have heard incredible things. Spencer did really surprise me because that was a film that when it came out had heaps of buzz around it. And I don't know if it's just, because it came out now a good 6 months before Oscar season, it's just been forgotten, but that really shocked me that didn't get more than actress. I personally, I did an episode recently on The Last Duel, and I know
I loved that.
Me too. That's another real Marmite one. I can't believe that got nominated for Razzies. And it shocks me that didn't get at least 1 or 2 nominations.
Oh, that's a good Ridley Scott movie of the year. I really think it should have been contending for editing. I think Jodie Comer should have been, no question, in lead actress.
Yeah.
I think you look at the production, the costume, and makeup, you're like, how did this not get more attention?
Yeah.
And I think it was just because the release was so bad. It just got pushed out.
Yeah.
It didn't really show at any cinemas in the UK. I was lucky that I was away that weekend, so I actually got to see it because I wouldn't have seen it in my home city.
Yeah, right.
It just had such a bad release schedule. And then you have House of Gucci.
Yeah.
Which was not a good movie, and it had way more attention, which I just don't get.
Ridiculous. A couple of fun tidbits about this year's Oscars. If Jane Campion wins, she'll only be the second female director to ever win, and she's also only the 7th woman ever to be nominated. That is a crime.
It's an absolute crime. She is going to win, but yeah. And she's also the first director to have ever, the first female director to have ever been nominated twice. Yes.
Well, I'm a massive fan of Campion. I love The Piano as well, which obviously was her first nomination. That's such a beautiful film. This nomination for Denzel also makes him the most nominated black actor in history with 10 nominations and 2 wins, and he's now tied 3rd as the most nominated actor of all time. I didn't know that.
The funny thing is, he's still never had a nomination at BAFTA.
Really?
Which I find ridiculous. He's never been nominated at BAFTA because we were all saying, the ballot system, we're going to realise that.
Yeah.
And we're going to nominate him. And they didn't. So if he can't get nominated for playing Macbeth on home turf, I just don't see a time when we will ever nominate Denzel.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you think about these announcements around how the Oscars is going to run this year with so many of the categories not being televised?
I'm not happy. Well, bear in mind I'm in the UK. Like, it doesn't start here till like 2 a.m.
Yeah, right.
The fact I'm gonna put, like, say editing goes to Power of the Dog, the race is over.
Yeah.
Like, it's won Best Picture, so I'm going to see that announcement on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to think, what is the point of me staying up till 5 a.m. to eventually hear that Power of a Dog won Best Picture?
Yeah.
It makes absolutely no sense, and I think it's a complete disrespect to those categories that have been cut.
I agree. Yep.
Like, if you have... I know people are like, oh, the short's going to be first cut. The shorts this year, we're potentially getting Academy Award winner Riz Ahmed. We're getting possibly a tribute to a subject matter who has passed away over the past month with the Queen of Basketball. And you look at the other categories, we're cutting out half of Dune's wins. We're cutting out Hans Zimmer. Like, how do you think it's going to bring more people in?
Yes.
Than the best picture contender that got the most money and the most recognition from the audience is not even going to be presented live, and we're going to find out Dune's won half the categories before it's even started. I don't get the decision.
This is my thing. I think it just shows how out of touch the Academy is at this point, that they don't understand their own audience. The kind of people who are watching the Oscars have never been the people who care about that, you know, big blockbusters, or, you know, they're the kind of people who care about film and want to see all of these films, you know, and categories get their due recognition.
It's not really it's ABC. It's them who have said, you need this to be under 3 hours long. We want you to cut. I think they wanted them to cut 12 categories.
Jesus Christ.
And only have them present 11 live. I'm like, that's not even 4 awards an hour.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? So that's how they got them cut, and that's why I don't think we're going to get a reversal, no matter how many people say, yeah, we're not happy about this.
Yeah.
Because ABC has pushed it.
I mean, I don't want to sound like a nerd here, but how long does the Super Bowl go for?
I've no clue. You're asking the wrong person that.
I mean, you
should not be asking a British person that.
I'm sure that's at least 3 hours, if not longer.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
It has to be, because you've got the game and you've got the halftime show.
Yeah.
You've got all the pre-game shows.
Yeah. Well, shall we get right into it then?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, where do you want to start? How do you want to do this? We could go with some of the acting nominations, cinematography. Where do you want to start?
We're wanting to start simple. 3 of the 4 acting categories seem to be locked up now, and then you just have one which is an absolute bloodbath.
All right, let's start with some of the acting nominations then. So let's go Best Actor first. Up for Best Actor this year, we've got Javier Bardem for Being the Ricardos, Benedict Cumberbatch for Power of the Dog, Andrew Garfield, Tick Tick Boom, Will Smith, King Richard, and Denzel Macbeth. Where's your heart and where's your head for this category?
A few months ago, I tried to make this crazy prediction that Benedict was going to surprise, that there was going to be a Power of the Dog win and it wasn't going to be where we expected it, that BAFTA was going to be able to help him. No, that's all thrown out now since Will Smith won the BAFTA and has swept the season. It's kind of just been a performance that we all knew since the trailer came out, since we knew of his casting. Yeah, this is his win.
Yeah. Were you a fan of King Richard?
Yeah, I was. I really enjoyed it. It's like probably 6 or 7 in my like actual Best Picture lineup, but that just goes to show how strong the year is, to be honest.
Yeah, I actually agree. I think from what I've seen, this is a very strong year. I think you're right. Absolutely, Will Smith is winning this. Personally, I kind of wish it was Denzel. I thought Macbeth was very, very, very strong, and I don't think it's going to win anything, which makes me a bit sad.
It should be winning cinematography.
That's exactly where I have it written down as well, but I don't think it will. But well, let's move on to actress then, where we've got Jessica Chastain for The Eyes of Tammy Faye, Olivia Colman, The Lost Daughter, Penelope Cruz, Parallel Mothers, Nicole Kidman, Being the Ricardos, and Kristen Stewart for Spencer. Where are you thinking this is going to go?
This is the one which is still kind of hard to predict, but I think now because of the Critics' Choice Awards, Chastain has the momentum. I think it also helps that she's been pushing it, she's been doing a campaign. Unlike the likes of like Penelope Cruz and Kidman, she hasn't won yet, so it seems like there is a reason to reward her here.
Yeah.
If I had a choice, it'd be going to Kristen Stewart, no doubt.
That's what I've got written down as well. I would love to see Kristen Stewart get a win. And, like, her career is just starting. She's going to be an Oscar winner at some point.
Yeah.
I haven't seen The Eyes of Tammy Faye, but this to me is one of those categories that honestly could go any direction. I think Olivia Colman is wonderful in everything that she's in. I think the Academy loves a film like Being the Ricardos, and it's not going to win anywhere else, so they might throw it a win here. But yeah, I think at the moment it is looking like Chastain.
It is very, very close because you'd see it's a transformational performance as well. It looks pretty solid to be winning makeup and hair, so it's kind of a nice pairing that way.
Yeah.
The problem is none of these actresses are in Best Picture contenders, which is what we usually default to. So it has made quite an interesting race, and none of them were up for BAFTA either. So that didn't help us at all.
Yeah. Moving over to supporting actor, we've got Sharon Hines for Belfast, Troy Kotzer for Coda, Jesse Plemons in Power of the Dog, J.K. Simmons being the Ricardos, and Cody Smith-McPhee in Power of the Dog. I hate to admit it, I've not seen a single one of these performances, so I'm going to defer completely to you. I don't know, is this where they throw Coda an award because it's not going to win anywhere else, or, like, I don't know.
Well, Coda now actually has a chance in another award, but Troy Kotzer has been taking all the momentum for this film, and it is my favourite performance of the 5. I have to admit, this is a kind of weak lineup comparison to what we could have gotten.
Yeah.
But Kotzer is easily the standout. It's going to be a historical moment, the first deaf actor to win an award, to win an Oscar. He's been killing it with his speeches. If you just look up his BAFTA speech, his SAG speech, it looked like it was going to be Cody for a while, but all the momentum and just everything we've known about the Oscars for the past decades, they like to reward a veteran performance. They like to award people who maybe don't have a chance again. Cody's going to have another chance.
Yeah. Who would you like to have seen up in this category?
I think, like I said, for Mass, Jason Isaacs gives an incredible performance. If you look through some of the international films, there's Vincent Lindon for Titan and Anders Danielsen Lee for Worst Person in the World. They both, I think, really deserved it. I also would have gone for Colman Domingo in Zola. His performance is absolutely insane, but that film just released during the summer with absolute no buzz outside of indie spirits.
Yeah, I think it's also just the kind of film that the Academy aren't generally interested in.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, I would have loved to have actually seen Nicolas Cage up for Pig, and I loved Dev Patel in The Green Knight as well, but I think they're both just films that the Academy's not interested in.
Oh, for Best Actor, I would have probably gone for Peter Dinklage for Cyrano.
Yeah, I mean, he's fantastic. He's just wonderful. All right, for supporting actress, we've got Jessie Buckley in The Lost Daughter, Ariana DeBose in West Side Story, Judi Dench in Belfast, Kristen Dunst in Power of the Dog, and Anjanou Ellis in King Richard. I don't know. I would love to see Dunst win an award personally.
I'd love it as well. It's going to be DeBose. Honestly, I'm still shocked Catriona Balfe isn't here for Belfast. That was especially since Judi Dench made it in.
Yeah.
None of us were predicting at all.
Yeah.
But I guess you can't deny Dench whenever she has a chance. No, it's going to be Ariana DeBose, and she deserves it. Like, that movie, you go into West Side Story knowing, it's Tony and all that. But you come out thinking, but Anita, your heart is with Anita throughout that entire film. And yeah, I would not be mad in the slightest if this is where West Side Story gets its win.
I agree. I think that this is probably the category where it's going to win. That movie was so incredibly underseen. Just nobody saw it. You know, much like The Last Duel, its release just kind of got pushed right at the end of the year when most countries were kind of starting to suffer again with COVID, and it just went so deep under the radar. But
I think it released here the week before Spider-Man, which I'm like, why did you do that?
But let's be honest, do you think that West Side Story ever would have done well? Like, I just don't know if it's the kind of movie that the general audience was ever going to rush to a cinema to see.
I also think it had the issue of we've done this before.
Yeah.
We have West Side Story at home. Why do we need to go out and see it again? I mean, you look at In the Heights. That Warner Brothers pushed that movie out to everyone, and it made slightly more than West Side Story, but not that much more. And we all declared In the Heights such a failure in summer, box office wise, that we just wrote it off our award season. And frankly, it's still one of my top 10 films of the year. I think it deserved a lot more recognition than it ended up getting.
Really? I was one of the people on the other side of the fence. I was not a fan of In the Heights personally. I wonder if just movie musicals are kind of a dying breed. It's a bit sad because personally, there's actually a lot of musicals and movie musicals I really enjoy. But I don't know if we're going to get many more after West Side Story and In the Heights.
I mean, this year had quite a few, but you see, Cyrano did even worse because they completely dropped the ball on their marketing. Dear Evan Hansen, which none of us thought looked good anyway, dropped the ball. The problem is these musicals demand money. They demand money to actually be made, and unless you're, well, now Damien Chazelle, I don't know. I think they might need to just go down more the original route than trying to copy Broadway.
Yeah, I agree. My favourite movie musical of the last 10 years has easily been La La Land, which I know a lot of people don't like.
It's like my fourth favourite film of all time. I adore that film.
Yeah. And brilliant music and songs as well. Like, I think people have forgotten that people used to write musicals specifically for film. Like Wizard of Oz, another example. That was written for film. And I think people are just so set on adaptations at the moment. Just, it's kind of sad.
It is very sad. Yeah, just more original musicals, please. I think that's what we're needing right now. And I love Wicked, and obviously I love John M. Chu for doing In the Heights, but I don't know how that's going to turn out.
I gotta say, Wicked to me is one that actually kind of excites me in a weird kind of like shameful way, because I just think, I think of the staging of that show and how much that could be lifted with some beautiful cinematography. And yeah, I'm actually kind of keen for that. Let's move over to cinematography, where we've got Greg Fraser, Aussie mate, we love him, for Dune, Dan Lutzen for Nightmare Alley, Ari Wegner for Power of the Dog, Bruno Del Bonnell for Tragedy of Macbeth, and Janusz Kaminski for West Side Story. This, I think, is actually a pretty tough category because there were some beautiful looking films this year. I think all 5 of these are worthy of the nomination, and I can still think of at least 10 more I would have loved to have had in this category. But yeah, this is tough for me. Where are you thinking? Are you set with Dune for this?
I don't know, because this is one that was split. So at BAFTA, it went to Dune, and then for Critics' Choice, it went to The Power of the Dog.
Yeah.
There is narrative. Like, there's a really compelling narrative for Power of the Dog, because if Ari Wegner wins, she's the first female cinematographer to win this award in 94 years, which is shocking.
Outrageous.
But it would make such a good moment. But Dune has all the momentum and all the technical awards for, well, very obvious reasons. Like I said, if it was me, I'd be casting a vote into Tragedy of Macbeth. I think that is one of the most stunning films I've seen in the past few decades, let alone just a year. I think I'm going to lean to Dune, but it's very, very close. I'd love to see a breakdown of the results for this category.
Yeah, same, yeah. I'm so torn on this. My heart is with Tragedy of Macbeth. I think it, like you said, it's a stunning looking film. I don't think it's going to win. I wouldn't be surprised also if this ended up being maybe where West Side Story got a win, because movie musicals traditionally, the cinematography in them that's quite an achievement in itself to film those dance numbers. But yeah, I reckon it's probably going to go Dune. And honestly, the blend, I've always said this, that cinematography is more than just pointing a camera. It's the overall look of the film and the way that film blends all of its elements, the visual effects with the practical effects. It's a real achievement.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And that's like, it's going to win visual effects. I think that's the easiest lock of the entire night.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, so let's get to VFX then. We've got Dune, Free Guy, No Time to Die, Shang-Chi, and Spider-Man. I agree with you. I don't see a reason to even have those other 4 nominees listed.
I mean, I think No Time to Die is a worthy number 2, especially if you look like half the scenes in that movie you would think would be practical or visual effects. Like
Yeah.
when we're climbing up the, like, I think it's like one of the skyscrapers and it looks stunning. That is completely visual effects and you're like, no way were they able to do that. But it's a worthy runner-up, but there is no way anything is topping Dune.
No, absolutely not. Let's talk film editing for a moment, because this is another category that I think is really interesting, actually. We've got Hank Corwin for Don't Look Up, Joe Walker for Dune, Pamela Martin for King Richard, Peter Skiberis, Power of the Dog, Myron Kirsten, and Andrew Weisblum for Tick, Tick, Boom. What are your thoughts on this category? Because this is another one where I honestly don't know where it's going to go.
Nobody does. So the Ace Eddie Awards went to King Richard and Tick, Tick, Boom.
Right.
The BAFTA went to No Time to Die, and the Critics' Choice went to West Side Story.
Yeah.
So Dune was the only one that was up for all of them, but it lost all of them.
Yeah.
If you're wanting to go with the sound stat, so for example, last year Trial lost to Sound of Metal, which won Best Sound.
Yep.
That's been kind of a strong correlation recently.
Yeah.
If you want to do that, go for Dune. It's the safest bet. Well, one that sticks out to me is Tick, Tick, Boom. Not only has it already won an award, but the fact it only got in here and actor kind of suggests to me passion. And out of the 5 films, I don't particularly love the editing. I've openly said I've had issues with Tick, Tick, Boom.
I agree. I did not like that movie at all.
I was left disappointed with it. I should revisit it. I still love Andrew Garfield, but I've said that film was messier than I expected it to be.
You agree. I've spoken to so little people who felt the same way. I
when I posted my reviews, people were like, "Oh, you don't understand it." Trust me, I watch so many movie musicals.
Yeah,
I understand it. I just did not connect with the character or the story here. But regardless, it is most editing. I think we can't deny that out of this list. It is the most editing, and it's not the sort of Don't Look Up controversial editing style that usually comes with Adam McKay films, which another film I did not particularly like.
Right, I actually loved that film, and that's where my heart is. If I was going to give this award, I'd give it to Don't Look Up, personally.
I'd be giving it to Dune. I think the editing on that, to make that story as cohesive as it is, and that film does not feel like nearly 3 hours long. That feels like a less than 2 hour film.
That's absolutely
true. And that
is
impressive.
Yeah.
Even King Richard, I'd say, has really impressive editing. Another long film, it doesn't feel as long as it should be.
Yeah.
The montages, which the Academy does like a good sports montage.
They do.
So, honestly, pick your bet, and it's got a decent chance of winning here.
The sports montage thing for me goes in hand with that most editing thing, which the Academy has been guilty of rewarding in the past. So I would not be surprised if this went to Tick, Tick, Boom or to King Richard for those reasons.
Yeah. It's a tight race for sure. But then, like I said, Sound of Metal winning last year just really throws me off. Because that is not a traditional winner of that category.
Yeah. That's the other thing that's really throwing me off this year is, and I mentioned this when I did an episode on The Last Duel recently, I feel like the Academy has been going very much out of its way to not reward Academy films. Films that are traditionally... and that's the only reason I can think that The Last Duel didn't get nominated is it's too much of an Oscar archetype.
I would say the same about French Dispatch.
Yes.
That's a film that should have been contending here, should have been in production, should have been in score. It's Wes Anderson. I don't get why they just said no to it this year.
Yeah, and so that's where I'm concerned that perhaps all the bookies, all the people like us are going to be completely wrong because the Academy is going to be going so far out of their way to be different and just... throw awards at people they wouldn't usually, that who knows what's going to happen. Let's get to director then, getting towards the end of it here. I agree with you that I think Campion is going to win this. But just for shits and giggles, we've got Kenneth Branagh for Belfast, Ryosuke Hamaguchi for Drive My Car, Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza, Jane Campion, Power of the Dog, and Steven Spielberg for West Side Story. Who's your second then? And is Campion who you actually want to win here or just who you think is going to?
I mean, the person I wanted to win this was Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah.
I'm still in shock that he's not even nominated.
I agree.
But I've had my rant about that. I've had many rants about that. Yeah, I think out of this list, I would personally pick Campion. But I also love Hamaguchi because Drive My Car is my second favourite film of the year,
Yeah.
and I think to take on a story like that, to make it actually 3 hours long, and once again, you don't feel the runtime,
Yeah.
despite the fact it's a slow, meditative drama, it's spectacular. I think even West Side Story, as much as I don't love the film, you can't deny the craft of West Side Story. Number two, here's the thing: the bookies have Spielberg fifth, and I don't get that.
You're right.
I like Paul Thomas Anderson. He's now probably favorite to win original screenplay, and that is more of a screenplay showcase.
Definitely.
Belfast. I personally love Belfast. I wish it was getting more recognition this year than it's actually going to get, but I wouldn't give it for director either. Yeah, so my second would probably be Hamaguchi as a personal preference, but I do think Campion is favourite and rightfully deserved this year.
I'm actually really surprised that PTA got a nomination for director for this. I agree with you. I think that's a screenplay film.
I mean, if it didn't make it in, it'd be even weirder if it got picture and screenplay and that was it.
Well, that's true. I mean, yeah, that would be bizarre. But, you know, like, honestly, even though I didn't love the film, I think Nightmare Alley, the direction in that film is pretty fantastic. And as you said,
I actually really loved Nightmare Alley, like, more than most people. I have it like I've got fourth or fifth in my Best Picture ranking. That is a film that should be winning some of the crafts it's nominated for.
I mean, definitely. I could see that taking away production design. Like, there's a lot of categories that I think that could win. And what that film did well, it did really well. So I was actually surprised to not see Guillermo up for director. I was really surprised, like you, to not see Villeneuve up, because Dune is a real achievement. And the way that it blends all of those technical elements and still makes you really care about the story and, like you said, understand it, I think that's insane to me that he's not up here.
10 nominations, and apparently the director is not good enough.
Yeah. 10 nominations, and I think it's only going to win the technical ones.
Yeah. But it's going to win like 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah. But I agree. Campion is going to win this one, and I will be absolutely happy with that, if for nothing else other than she's amazing, and more women need to win this category.
Yeah. They really do.
What do you think about the recent controversy around her? Like, are we too close to the Oscars now for that to have any play on the Oscars?
Oh, maybe in screenplay where it's a tighter race, but director's been locked up since the beginning. The controversy's kind of been weird because she had people in her favour against the Sam Elliott situation. And then she obviously made that huge blunder at the Critics' Choice Award, but she's apologised since then, and I don't know. I think it's too late. I think it's kind of just going to be a thing that happens on Twitter, and people are just going to forget about it come Oscar night.
Yeah. Well, here we are at Best Picture then. Before we get to the nominees, let me ask you this. Are you in favour or are you against the now standard 10 nominees for Best Picture? That seems to almost be a requirement of late, whether or not there are 10 pictures worthy, 10 need to be nominated. Are you in favour of that?
Yeah, I am. I'm in favour of that. Because if you take this year as opposed to last year, if this was a race of like 8 or 9, you would have seen Nightmare Alley and probably Drive My Car taken out of the list. That's probably the two that were 9 and 10. And I love both those films, so I'm kind of glad that they've got a chance to be in this lineup. And it just makes it a lot more consistent when we look back. I think the rule was like 5% must have voted for your film to have gotten in last year, which I don't kind of get, to be honest. I don't get why it's that threshold. I think 10 just makes it a lot more consistent. Yeah.
By that logic, though, should we be nominating more for all the other categories as well? Like, if we had 10 in director, then Villeneuve might have got up. Is that excessive?
Yeah, it's a bit excessive. I think for picture it makes sense, but for every other category, I mean, makeup and hair only had 3 nominees.
Yeah, they usually
years
do.
ago.
Yeah. So getting into Best Picture then, we've got Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. Are there any of these 10 that surprise you that they actually got in? Like I said, I was really surprised to see Nightmare Alley get in here when it got so few other nominations and wasn't that well received in the end. Like, it had a lot of buzz before release and then that kind of died. I'm surprised to not see something like Spencer here. Does this category surprise you at all?
Nightmare Alley is the one surprise, yeah. I got the other 9. I was proud of Drive My Car. I was just kind of pushing that in. But I had Being the Ricardos in over Nightmare Alley for my predictions. Not what I actually wanted, because I do prefer Nightmare Alley as a film, but Being the Ricardos just had a weird day getting 3 actors, and that was it.
Yeah.
It was very, very strange. No, Nightmare Alley is a surprise, but one that I'm actually really happy about because, like I said, I do actually really love it.
Yeah.
The other 9 were kind of a predicted set.
Yeah. Being the Ricardos also is one of those films that really, like The Last Duel I was talking about before, it strikes me like an Academy film. You know, like the Oscars love movies about Hollywood and film and television being made and stuff. So I was surprised to not see that here as well. I mean, do you think that this is an absolute lock, this category? Do you think this is going to Power of the Dog, or do you think some of these other films still have a real shot?
We have to wait until PGA, because that is the first chance that Power of the Dog has a chance to play against a preferential ballot. So if we see... I think Belfast is out at this point, to be honest. The fact it didn't even perform well to a British voting body kind of rules it out. I think if you see Coda or King Richard win PGA, there is a little bit of a discussion to be made. It also comes down to what wins editing, because we're going to find that out before the telecast. So if Power of the Dog wins editing, it's locked up. It's done. People making the Coda argument just because it's had this last-minute resurgence. I don't see how a film that could only get in supporting actor and screenplay can beat a film that got in production design and sound when it had no right to get in either of those categories, let alone being the most nominated film over a technical achievement like Dune.
Yeah.
It's clear the Academy loves The Power of the Dog, and it's clear it has momentum. It's winning director for sure. If it ends up taking adapted screenplay, it's done. I don't see how a film tops that.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. You know, it's interesting. We think of Best Picture and Director being so correlated, but they're actually not. There are so many examples where those are split categories. I wouldn't be surprised if this was one of those years. I don't know why. I'm just feeling that, but like looking at that list, I can't think of any of the other 10 that would really win. Don't Look Up has absolutely no shot. I loved that movie, but that has no shot of winning, I don't think, any awards. You know, the only one I think might be a contender is, I mean, I'd love to see Dune win, but I just think
I'd love it.
It's too much of a genre film that I just can't see it taking it.
Oh, I'd love it as well, but people built up this narrative about rewarding part 2. I'm like, you do realize what else is coming out that year, but whatever, we'll tackle that at that point. Yeah, like I said, I think I have King Richard at number 2. It's the only other film that really it was never going to get a nomination in director, so it kind of maxed out its awards. It's winning Best Actor. It's got a good shot at editing. If we see it potentially win PGA, I think there is a real discussion to be made about that, especially since the controversy around Campion has also shifted focus a little more on King Richard's story.
Yeah,
I think that may end up helping it a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
But if PGA goes to Power of the Dog, it's over. I really do think the race is done by that point.
Yeah. I reckon that takes us to the end then. That's cool. I'm I usually am one of those people who gets really excited for the Oscars. I'm sadly not this year. Like, I'm still going to watch it. We're very lucky with our time zones that the Oscars here start at 10 a.m. on a Monday morning. So so I can, you know, cheekily watch it at my desk at work or take the day off and, you know, make a lunch of it. So I'm going to watch it. But Yeah, I'm really not excited, and I actually kind of don't really care about the winners this year.
I think a big problem is that's just because it's gone on for so long. We've known about these nominees for months now, and it almost feels so predictable. It's like, what's the point anymore?
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's why a lot of us are chasing a Coda sort of win for Best Picture, because it would be something different. But I mean, I'm still going to stay up and watch it. I've got the day booked off between the 2 days, so I can stay up till like 4 or 5 a.m. But is it going to be worth it? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. Can you tell everybody where they can find you and some of the things that you do?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Films with Amy. I've got a link in my bio that kind of links to everything I write, but like I said, it's primarily InSession Film and Next Best Picture.
Nice, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Next week, I will finally be getting to The Batman with our good friend Sam from Movie Reviews and 20 Qs. I've been hanging out for it for ages. I was meant to see it opening day and then got COVID, unfortunately. Where are you on The Batman? Were you a fan?
I loved it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I loved it, but I also saw it in the city that it was like shot in.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool.
I mean, there seem to only really be two kind of people, those who loved it and those who liked it. I actually don't know of anyone who hasn't enjoyed The Batman, which, I mean, that's pretty impressive for a film that is knocking on the door of 3 hours.
It goes by really quickly.
Yeah. All right, so that should be fun. In the meantime, if you want to get in touch with me, you can do that at wewatchedathing.com or wewatchedathing@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under the handle at wewatchedathing. If you want to help support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/wewatchedathing, and I'll catch you next week.